Yo, what is up guys, Korean here, and in today's video I'm going to teach you guys how to make your very own Atlas passive tree, kind of guide you through the process and give you some tips. In addition to that, I'm also going to share with you guys the discoveries of me and my Discord server poring over the Atlas tree for hours. But first, if you're not already a subscriber, I would really appreciate it if you would join the club. And if you like this video specifically, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Without further ado, let's get into it. So first of all, one of the discoveries. So the biggest topic on everyone's mind right now in terms of the Atlas passive tree are these silly map nodes. Some people are saying you need them, some people are saying you don't. Obviously, I was an advocate for taking them earlier in the Atlas progression because I think they're going to be an absolute slam dunk for fast tracking your Atlas progress and getting you into the endgame. Well, I'm here to tell you that these are pretty much in every single Atlas passive tree I make, even the super duper endgame juicing ones. Let me tell you why. Okay, the main reason is that on our current Atlas, we actually have a ton of free bonuses, which a lot of people are taking for granted. So right now, you get 177% chance for maps to drop 1 tier higher. So this actually equates to 77% chance for maps to drop 2 tiers higher. This is completely insane. So I've confirmed with GGG that the new Atlas is going to maintain using the map equity system. This is a pretty complicated behind the scenes shadowy system, which a lot of you probably don't need to know about, but essentially the math kind of goes a little like this. If you have 100% chance to drop a map at a higher tier, that essentially equates to 300% more maps once you start getting into endgame content. So as soon as you socket a void stone in your Atlas, 100% chance to drop a map tier higher is going to equate to 300% more maps due to the map equity system. And this is going to remain to be true as you get more void stones and you socket more of them in. Once you have 4, it's still going to be 300% more maps. Okay, pretty damn good. People who do know the equity system are going to be able to, nod their head. I know what he's talking about here. Anyway, let's get on to what we have right now. So we have 177% chance on the current Atlas though, right? That's insane. It sure is. That's almost close to 900% more maps dropping. It kind of multiplies in that way due to the fact that the equity system is actually doing the 3-to-1 recipe behind the scenes. So the ability to drop maps 2 tier higher takes your, for example, a T1 map, it 3-to-1s 3 of them into a T2 map, and it 3-to-1s 3 of those into a T3 map, essentially giving you 9 of the original map all the way up to the T3 map, which is completely crazy. Okay, so what's the catch? Well, as I mentioned in my other video, we're going from 177% to 0. Absolutely none. Of course, we can recoup 100% of this on the Atlas tree, which a lot of us are doing, especially in the early game, but I've seen a lot of players start to drop this off and decide that they don't need it in the end game. Now, I personally am of the opinion that you're probably going to want to hang on to that, especially when we start talking about favorited maps, which we'll talk a little bit about more in a second here. Okay, so we've established that we're losing a whole ton of Atlas, map sustain, and unless they literally tripled the amount of maps that dropped, you're not going to be able to make up for it unless you take those nodes. So I think they're pretty damn important. Okay, next up here, we have 30% increased effect of map modifiers that we are able to get with the Awakening bonus objectives. That is also no longer going to be free. You're going to have to spec into that on your Atlas passive tree, and unfortunately, they're actually travel nodes, so not too great there. They're actually pretty expensive to pick up, and most builds aren't going to grab too many of them. So we're actually losing a little bit of power there. So that used to give you pack size and quantity, which we're losing that out as well. Okay, so we're going to lose some more map sustain there as well. Ooh, okay, that's not too great. So the picture I'm trying to paint here is that map sustain might be a little bit of an issue, especially in the late game, unless you take those nodes. So overall, I would recommend going for those nodes and keeping them on your tree and not respecing them. And that's going to lead us fairly nicely into the next section of this video. Favorited maps. So the favorited map system was briefly explained by Chris in the announcement, but I thought I'd explain it here a little bit more. So after you fully complete your Atlas and do some endgame objectives, you're able to favorite any map up to 12 times. So you can split this and divvy it up as you want, but favoriting a map essentially increases its chance to drop by 10 times, which is pretty damn good. You can favorite one map 12 times, increase it by 120. So there's 100 maps in the map pool, so if you take 100 maps and you pick on just one of them and you take that one map out and increase its chance to drop by 120 times, you're going to add 120 of that So you're going to have a total, weight bucket of 220. Oh, so I think it's actually 219. I believe it's about that. And the way the math works now is that 120 of the tickets in this 219 bucket are going to be your favorite map. And whenever a map drops, it's going to, check that bucket. It's going to pull a ticket out. And if it's the one that you favorited, cool, you're getting your map. But if it's not, it's going to be another map, which isn't what you want. So overall, in order to sustain your favorited map, you're going to need to drop 2 maps for every 1 map that you want. Meaning, we're starting to see a scenario in which, oh man, you actually you need to over-sustain your T16 maps if you want to kind of get your favorite map on farm. Okay, so that's not too great. Fortunately, there is an additional node here which is going to help us out. And again, it's one of the map nodes. Okay, so 25% increased chance to be favored maps. Okay, what does this mean? How does it work? So essentially what that takes is it takes your favorited maps that you've got there and it multiplies it by 25%. So you can take that and you can multiply it by 1.25. That's what I want here, times 1.25. Okay, now it's 150. So it kind of, fudges the math a little bit, and it's going to increase your chance to get that favorited map. It's going to put things a lot more in your favor, meaning you probably don't need so close to 2 times the amount of maps dropping, but it's probably more like, you can get like, 2/3 of the maps dropping almost are going to be the ones that you want, which is pretty damn good in my opinion. Okay, so overall, map sustain, probably going to be something you're going to want to pay attention to, and you're definitely going to want to hang on to those map nodes probably in the early game, mid game, and even the late game, unless you're willing to buy maps of other players, or you're like absolutely just juicing out of your mind. You might be able to drop some, but overall I think it's probably safer to hang on to them. Okay, let's move on to the next thing now. So we've kind of established that most builds are probably going to want to have these map nodes in them now due to the fact that we're losing so much opportunity to get higher tier maps. Okay, so that kind of gives us a bit of a backbone here to work off and kind of construct our builds, because if we need to get these things anyway, okay, well, we're going to have to path up here some way or another and grab these nodes. Which you can see I've done. I've kind of created, the most optimal place to kind of get to these nodes here. You could go around on the left, but overall, this is basically what you're going to have to do here. And then there's a few just absolute gimmies that you're going to have along the way, which are just way too good not to take for pretty much every play style. So the first one here is obviously getting a free strongbox for 3 points. Overall, this is as good as a sextant modifier, which is pretty damn good. Do you want a free sextant? I know I do. So I think that's pretty much going to be in most builds. Next up, again, shrines. That was a sextant modifier as well, and it still is. Do you want a free sextant? I'll take a free sextant. 2 points, 3 points, not too bad. I'll grab that too. In a similar vein, Harbinger, that's better than a sextant. That's a scarab. Well, I mean, that's a no-brainer too, right? So I'll take those. Okay, moving on. So we already have a few points which are pretty much locked in. Every single build is going to want these. They're pretty much obvious and they're just totally overpowered, to be frank with you. So, we've kind of got a bit of a skeleton going on here, which we can now start to construct all of our builds off. Pretty damn cool. Now, I'm of the opinion personally that Harbingers are incredibly powerful, and they also play to a lot of build strengths. They synergize pretty much with every single kind of strategy, and they also are very, very lucrative. Unlike a lot of things on the Atlas tree, they are completely immune to the effects of the softcore trade economy. You absolutely can never be in a position where you're like, damn, Harbingers suck to farm right now. And the reason for that is because they drop raw currency, and they drop a lot of it. They drop Exalted Shards, they drop Anomalous Shards, and they drop Ancient Shards. Ancient Shards are essentially liquid Headhunter and Mage Blood Shards. They can also be used for the Squire and all sorts of other things. They will always have value, and they will always be sought after. And as such, you'll never be going wrong with Harbingers. And to boot, you've also got Keyrack, which is going to offer you a further 2 Harbingers, which can be further enhanced by your Atlas passive nodes here, which I've picked up for 4 Chaos Orbs. Essentially, it's free real estate. There's no reason not to juice those Harbingers up. And as such, I've included these in the base Atlas tree as well. I think they're just too good not to include. Overall, lots of people have probably talked about these nodes, but they're absolutely ridiculous. They're going to increase your juiciness of your maps by a ton, and they're going to give you a lot of currency on average per mapping session. It's going to make you quite rich. Okay, so when you look at all this, it's all fairly obvious. You've got all these points, no brainers. So now we have what's called the base atlas tree. I'm pretty sure if you hang any sort of strategy off this, it's all going to be perfect and you're going to want these points regardless. Meaning we now have a starting point for every single atlas strategy you may want to construct in the game. I'm pretty sure that, overall, it's going to be a pretty good base for everyone. Okay, so now, from this base, we can do a lot of cool things. First up, the easiest thing that you guys can do is pick one lead mechanic, your absolute favorite, which you really want to run and, kind of figure out what that is. And, okay, so let's say that you wanted to run, I don't know, let's say Blight. Okay, so I've cooked up for you guys a pretty cool handy dandy spreadsheet here, which actually has the base trees, which is essentially that base kind of skeleton which we've got going on there. And then I've also filled out the nodes that you have on, the different tree of Blight, Ritual, anything like that. And I've also put here how many points it takes to get to those passives, allocate them all to kind of see what you've got going on. But the first step is going to be to get that base atlas tree done. You'll never have to respec it, you'll never have to change it, and it's fully, changeable and moddable with all the other strategies later on when you want to respec a bit of it. And then the next thing you need to do is pick any of these different atlas, I suppose farming strategies. Now you'll notice that I have here called supplementary leagues. These are leagues which I don't believe that you could really specialize in. They're more supporting. Stuff like Essence, it's all in the middle of the tree. It's not something that you really need to target or go out of your way. It's not going to define your atlas passive build. Similarly, Heist, Ray Exiles, Torment, Beyond, and Harbinger, they're all really relatively, close to the tree with the exception of Beyond and Torment. And overall, they're not going to define your build. You shouldn't build your tree around these, but they are things that you're going to have the option to pick up later on, which we'll get into. The things you absolutely should build your tree around though are these. These are going to dominate your kind of direction and overall theme of your Atlas passive tree. It's going to take that initial base and it's going to modify it in a way that is exclusive to your playstyle. Any of these are probably quite lucrative and you're going to be able to make a lot of money at all of these. The Atlas overall is insanely profitable and it's not going to be any surprise to anyone when all of these strategies are highly successful. So let's say that you wanted to farm Blight. Okay, let's open up the Blight base tree here that I've got. I have added a few nodes here and there, which I'll quickly remove because I don't think that we need them. But yeah, this is the base Blight tree. So you can see here the familiar kind of skeleton of our 3 map clusters, our Harbinger nodes, and our gimmies that we obviously are all going to want to take. We got those up there. And then in addition to that, we've modified the pathing just a little bit from the right here over to the left, which is completely fine. You can easily do that, so that we can pick up the Blight nodes. And you can see here, we're coming down over here, grabbing all the Blight nodes over here, all the Blight nodes over here, and then all the Blight nodes up here. And we got 92 points invested. Now, you're probably like, oh man, dude, he's almost out of points. But this is absolutely fine because after you've selected the league of your choice, whether that be Blight, Legion, or anything like that, it all starts to come together and you can kind of see what else is available to you and what your kind of secondary picks are going to be. So if you selected Blight, you're probably going to want a supporting league mechanic, which is going to work really well with Blight and kind of enhance your mapping potential and kind of really give you a really synergistic and nicely gelling, kind of juicing session, so to speak. So you could kind of look into everything here. So you're running Blight. Okay, so maybe you're on like a Toxic Sewer or a Phantasmagoria or something like that kind of a strategy here. So you get all the tendrils and give you like all of the Blighter maps. Okay. So you could, for example, invest in Delirium. That is all very close by. And that's what you're going to want to do next. You're going to want to see what's on your travel nodes and see what's close by. After you've got these 30 odd to 40 odd points left over, you want to see, okay, what is really close, which I could scoop up and, which synergizes really good with this lead mechanic that I've picked up here. Okay, so maybe I want to get into some Delirium. Okay, so I don't really want to use Delirium orbs. I just want to get some, Delirium mirrors. I kind of want to, maybe I can get some of that. So maybe you're like, okay, I want Delirium. So I'm going to grab some 4 points over here. I'm going to be like, okay, so, 3% chance for the Delirium orb, that's pretty damn good. Overall, I'm going to grab those, maybe some extra fog. That'd be pretty good. What other Delirium stuff have I got which is close? Let's take a quick look. Delirium. There we go. How do I spell that? And then you're kind of like, okay, so I could reach up here and grab some Deli, or actually perfect. I'll come down to here. grab all the deli over here, and then come up here and grab some more deli over here. Okay, so now you can see, okay, now I'm a Deli Blight build. Okay, so that all came off the base tree, and then a league mechanic I really wanted to run, and now I'm a Delirium build and a Blight build. And I've got both of those leagues at full power. Okay, cool, that's pretty damn good. But what if you didn't want Delirium? Well, you can pick a different secondary league as well, and then you don't have to let that, be your only option. As you can see here, by kind of layering how you construct the tree, you can go for your core, which will never be respect, your secondary, which is going to decide your overall pathing left to right, and then you can kind of go for some secondary stuff, and you can respec and muddle these around however you see, and almost respec them in stages, which is going to make it a lot more cost effective and allow you a lot more freedom in the long run. Okay, so maybe you wanted to go for ritual. So you type in ritual, and you can just take a look at where all the ritual nodes, and you can see how it all hangs together. You can see, okay, all right, perfect. Look how close this is. I can take ritual over here. I could take ritual over here. Awesome. And, 2 points for travel up there, 1 point over here. Oh, damn, that's badass. I can take all of this stuff over here. And now, okay, I got a few points left over. I probably don't have anything too crazy. I could grab some delirium if I wanted, but I don't have anything too crazy, anything else that I really want to do. But so maybe I'll take some supplementary leagues. Okay, take a look at the list. What do we got? I could grab some, maybe some essence. Where's the essence? I could take some essence over here. Some essence real quick over here. And then, okay, that pathing was really bad. Let's go through here. Then you can come over and get the essence down here as well, whatever. Yeah, okay, I've gone over point budget, but you kind of get the point. So that's kind of the way you want to do it. Now, one thing I do want to point out, though, is that the overall league mechanics that you can run and efficiently run are going to be determined by that league mechanic which you select as your favorite. So I want to kind of compare this. You notice that every single league mechanic which I could pick up within reason in a small kind of point travel distance was all on the left side. If I wanted to specialize into the one of the new bosses, I could pretty much only go for the Exarch because I am playing Blight and that's where all my nodes are. Unless I want to blow 5 or 6 travel nodes, or even more than that actually, to grow up to the Eater of Worlds. That's not really going to be very efficient, and overall I'm going to lose a lot of efficiency that way, and I'm going to actually get less fun league mechanics than I would otherwise. It's not really all about min-maxing, it's just about getting as much stuff as you want on the tree, right? You want to make your points count, and as such, you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to which side of the tree you end up being on. Because the way they've constructed this tree is that each league mechanic has pretty much all of its passives on one tree. So all of Ritual, Beyond, Blight, Bestiary, Incursion is going to be on the left, for example. And then all of Legion, Delve, Abyss, Breach, Expedition is on the right. And then a lot of the generic stuff like Heist, Harbinger, Essence is in the middle. And then of course all the bossing stuff is up the top. That's kind of the overall geography, I suppose, of the Atlas passive tree. And as such, you're going to find a lot of strategies which kind of almost drift together. So you could very easily run Legion and Breach, or Legion and Expedition. But it's far, far harder to run Breach and Blight together, for example, because they're just on opposite ends of the tree. And it would never really be too efficient to do that. You're just going to lose a whole lot of your awesome points on travel nodes, which aren't very interesting. So overall, you want to keep either to the left or to the right, in my opinion, and that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. Okay, so those are the biggest tips I have for you guys on constructing your Atlas tree. You should be able to come on here and kind of select any of the big leagues you want, and then be able to pick on some secondary and even third leagues that you want to add in, and you should have enough points to do that. And if you get really efficient, it can be pretty damn good. So how does this all fit together into a endgame kind of Atlas farming? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's say that you have a post 4 Voidstone Atlas. Ooh. And you've got all 12 of your favorited maps ready to go. And you're starting to kind of plow through some maps and get a bit of a map pool under your belt. Well, you're going to want to favorite a map which kind of really works well with your chosen strategy. So for example, if you're doing a Legion strategy, probably going to want something like a Dunes or a City Square or something like that. If you're doing Blight, you're probably going to want a Toxic Sewer or something enclosed or something like that. That'd be really good. If you're doing some form of I don't know, an expedition, you're probably going to want a map which is super fast to run, so you can run as many expeditions as you can per hour. But here's the catch. Everything on the tree is not a guarantee, with the exception of Harbinger, Strongbox, and Essence, and Shrines. everything is a % chance. So you're not guaranteed to get breach in every map. And in order to guarantee that, you're either going to need to use Kirak or Scarabs or Sextants. So that's where you start really entering into the min-max territory of your Atlas build. And you can start taking a few different liberties with your point allocation. So for example, if you wanted to do a bestiary strategy, you no longer would need, chance to get Einhar on completion when on your tree, because, okay, in the end game, you just buy some bestiary scarabs and get Einhar for free. Okay, that's going to save you some points now. And you can start putting those in some other area, maybe pick up a bit of heist or something like that, which is pretty damn cool. And that's where the endgame min-maxing really comes into play and allows you to be a lot more flexible with your tree, freeing up some of those points. So I kind of wanted to go over that real quick. In different stages. So in the Kirak department, there's a few mods that you're going to want to know. So we have Harbinger and Ambush as main insane moneymakers. You've seen here that this is the one I recommend for most builds. And then for Delirium, you have Beyond, which stacks very well with that. And then for Abyss, you have Abyss on Kirak, which is very good. That's pretty good. That you have access to that fairly early and fairly easily, which is pretty nice. And then finally, Ritual players are going to have Ritual on hand. It's very expensive, but it is available there for you guys on the map device if you so want to take that. Which means you wouldn't need a spec and a chance to get Ritual anymore, would you? Because it's so easily accessible, and you can just, give Kirak some Chaos Orbs. But then enter Scarabs. So Scarabs are where the game really opens up. There's going to be massive demand for Scarabs, as it allows you to take your Atlas strategy to the next level and guarantee that you're farming it every single map. Pretty much everything has access to Scarabs, or on the other end of things, they have a Sextant modifier which grants it. Now, Scarabs are actually going to be, probably fairly plentiful with some of the nodes on the tree, and Sextants are going to be more plentiful forever, than ever. They're now itemizable, and I can guarantee you there's going to be people in their hideout rolling these in bulk. You're going to be able to buy 20 Legion Sextants off one guy and just chuck them on like it's nothing. It's essentially going to be like buying Scarabs. So we're now in a new world where we have Sextants, which are basically Scarabs, and Scarabs, which are Scarabs. Awesome. The customization doesn't stop. Fabulous. So it means we're going to be able to run stuff like Delirium Mirrors as much as you want, Harvest as much as you want. And you're going to be able to take the juice levels of existing mechanics up quite a large notch. So, everyone making fun of Breach and, poking fun of it, well, it's, it's not actually as bad as you would think, because it gains access to 2 additional breaches. It gains access to 1 breach off Sextants, a further 3 breaches off Scarabs, and then it can make all those breaches either Chayula or Ulnatul, and that's pretty damn good if you ask me. And then Legion's kind of similar, and overall, don't be discouraged if people say your Atlas nodes suck for your favorite mechanic, because there's probably a lot more ways to scale it in the endgame. Okay, I am going to just talk a little bit about the ultimate endgame here for all you juicers. I know you're out there, and if you stayed until the end, I thought I would share some of my really endgame juicy min-max trees that we've got going on here. And the main one I want to show you guys is one which has been highly optimized and is really just endgame. Everyone in Discord was looking at it, it's like, change that point there, Grimro. And then we changed it, and it's kind of like where, all the thinking kind of comes together, and you can kind of see how this might play out in the endgame and start to be pretty interesting. Okay, so this is going to be an Atlas strategy for farming Delirium Mirrors on Jungle Valley. The objective of this strategy is to get as many monsters in the map as possible and capitalize on how many Simulacrum Splinters you're going to be able to drop off the Delirium Mirror. So our map of choice is going to be Jungle Valley, favorited 12 times at T16. We're going to be using the Kirak mod Beyond. We're also going to be rolling Beyond on all of our maps using Alk and Scour to get the Beyond modifier. In addition to that, we're going to be using a Harbinger Scarab, an Abyss Scarab, a Breach Scarab, and a Legion Scarab. And then for Sextants that we're going to purchase of other players, we're going to be getting Delirium and Beyond, as well as unique monsters drop corrupted items. The last one is a Flex Spot. We've got 128 passive skill tree here. Okay, let me take you through the thinking, and then we'll wrap up this video, and you guys can get on your merry way and making your trees. So first up here, one of the most powerful things that you can have in Delirium is Alva. So I wanted to get some extra chance at Alva because I didn't want to use a Sextant slot on using, getting an Alva mission. So we've got a bit of a chance to get Alva here. I decided to modify the pathing a little bit from coming straight up to grab Alva. So you can see you can modify these trees quite a lot when you get hyper-focused on a different strategy here. We still have the normal map nodes as as I mentioned, I think they're going to be very important. Players that don't have these might have to purchase maps. And then we've got extra chance to generate delirium reward types. And you'll notice I don't have the chance to get a delirium mirror because I'm going to be getting that guaranteed every time with sextants. Moving up here, we have, chances to get increased simulacrum splinters. We have, way better delirium, upgrading that with Descent into Madness. And we're also getting the chance to make this slower fog. So, because my washed up ass doesn't lose the mirror fog. Okay, next up, we're going up here and we're going to capitalize on Searing Exarch pack size as well as extra monsters. Now, you have to remember on every single map, we're going to have the Arch Nemesis League as well as either the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds. This is going to also give you the Eldritch Altars at your disposal as well. So don't forget about that, guys, because there's going to be a lot of extra juice in this expansion. It's going to be pretty damn good. So remember to juice up your Eater of Worlds or Exarch if they turn out to be as good as we hope they are. So I got some extra pack size on there, and we're also picking up all the delirium nodes up here. You'll notice I'm 3 points short, that's because these 3 points are bugged, but we're also picking up all the delirium nodes here. We're also grabbing Beyond, foregoing one of the Beyond wheels here. You can do that if you think the points are too far. You can drop half of your lead mechanic if it's just not worth it. And then we're going to come up here and get some Torn Veil action going on here, and then we're going to go all the way up and grab Scarabs. Okay, so Scarabs are not one that I would really recommend for many players, but when you're using 4 Scarabs, and on average, your total map cost is like 100 C per map, with the Scarabs and all sorts of stuff like that, you might want to look into it. Okay, coming up here, I want to point out that we have, you remember that 30% increase effect of non-unique maps that we were talking about earlier that we lost from the Awakener bonus? We're getting it back by taking all of these top passives here, because that actually increases the effect of Beyond on your maps, which is pretty damn good. And then finally, we're going for Enduring Influence. That's going to be a video all on its own, but we still have the exact skeleton of the tree that we started out with. We're also picking up Abyss here, which is pretty damn nice, as well as increased effect of Shrines and, getting some extra packs on that as well. Overall, I think it's a pretty standard tree, and I think it's pretty damn highly optimized. If you want to take a look at any of these trees or the trees I've been cooking up, or in the future any trees that I add, they're going to be here in this spreadsheet. I'll link it down in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. A little bit long, but there was plenty of info in here. So until next time, cheers.